Signal View Setting Part 1. At the top bar of this tab, there is a list of enabled signals in the device input or outputs being enabled in Hardware Configuration window. Each of these signals in Signal View window should be selected in this bar. Note that Show Actual Value should be set to see binary input. For example, voltage group B is enabled in Hardware Configuration window. Then, by ending binary input C3 on trip signal and setting its Show Actual Value, these signals are added to the list of enabled signals in order to display in Signal View settings that the relevant signal can be observed by selecting each one. Since the voltage and current outputs of Group A are enabled in Hardware Configuration window, all voltage and current signals of Group A can be observed by selecting Voltage Group A and Current Group A. These options can be displayed in this way, if B voltage and current groups are enabled. In addition, we can also have a specific graph for each phase by selecting each one of these phases. Voltage All and Current All options represent the voltage and current output signals of groups A and B in a graph. Digital option represents the status of receiving or not receiving binary input and binary output signals in a specific graph. For this purpose, set the state time to 5 seconds in Detail View and trigger is set to 1C3 binary. After performing the test, this binary is short-circuited and you can see that receiving the signal is shown on C3 binary in digital graph. In general setting, the settings related to the display of signals is performed. In radio button, displaying this signal will be effective by selecting RMS in radio button, and the signal display will be instantaneous by selecting instantaneous. Two options, period time and number of period in this section for the actuals being received from the device. Period time is used for indicating the time of a period and the default value is set according to frequency, but you should change this manually by changing the frequency. Number of period is used for calculating the RMS value based on the average number of several periods. As the number goes up, the longer it will take, while the accuracy increases and there will be less fluctuations. By selecting Live Scroll, you can easily observe the voltage or current signal changes at any moment of the injection and the instantaneous signal changes. In order to see this, a test will run on the zoomed signal and you can always observe the moment of injecting the signal. By selecting Highlight Current State, a part of the signal related to the current state is specified. In order to see this, if another state is added, a part of the signal related to the current state will be highlighted. Showtime and binary displays the time related to disconnecting or connecting the output and input binaries to digital graph. For observing it, run the test on which the time is shown by connecting and disconnecting the binary C3. In Show Table, the settings related to cursors and data table are made. First, you should enable cursor and data table by selecting them at the top of the table in this table. Up to 3 cursors can be enabled in cursor column, and data table can be used for analyzing the signals. Remember, to show the data in each cursor in data table, the related data table column should be checked. In addition, 3 other rows specific to the difference between C1, C2 and C3 cursors can be enabled or disabled in data table column. After enabling cursor and data table at the top of the table, you will see a table and 2 track bars added to Signal View window. Time column represents the time when the cursor is on it. In Signal column, a signal is dedicated to cursor. Value column represents the signal value. RMS column represents the effective signal value. Phase column shows the signal angle. In frequency column, the test frequency is displayed. In extra setting, cursor attaches to the moment of receiving the digital signal and increases the reading accuracy by snap, while cursor is enabled and by approaching cursor to the moment of recording the digital signal. This increases the accuracy of reading time. In extra options, a number of points field, the number of sampling points from the signal is specified, and if you can reduce this value, you will see that displaying the signal will leave the full sinusoidal state. Refresh all refreshes all computational sections in Signal View window.